And next, we have a leadership coach, Anwar Jumabhoy, who was asking some questions. He's from BC Consulting. He's had a long history dealing with money and an upcoming book called 9 Entrepreneurisms. So please help me welcome Anwar Jumabhoy.
I was asked to prepare a few slides, so I'm one of those very disciplined people. So if you tell me to do something, then I do it. I organize my life such that I always try and finish what I need to do before it needs to be done, so that nobody has to call me. I hate phone calls. So I hate it when people call me and say, is this done or are you doing this? And so I always try and do these things before. I put together a few slides. I don't know how it clicks. Will it click? So I like to show this picture, and I don't know whether some of you who follow the news, this is from July 2015, and the lion in the picture is Cecil. Cecil was 13 years old when he was shot dead by the hunter, Walter, who paid, I think, $50,000 to go on a hunt. Now, Cecil lives in a game reserve where no hunting is allowed. But his guide, Theo, got a license to hunt lions, provided it was outside the national park. And so what they did is that they baited the lion to get the lion outside the national park, and then shot the lion with a crossbow. And it's a steel crossbow. When I was a kid, I used to use a crossbow, and crossbows are extremely lethal weapons, right? So, and this is a steel crossbow. So, you put the arrow in, you wind it, so it has phenomenal tension, and then when you shoot it, it just goes through. So when you use crossbows on an archery thing, it just goes right through the archery thing. So I like to remind people that a lot of large companies are like these lions, right? They're lumbering, they have the territory. In the case of Cecil, he was a duopoly. There was another lion living in the game reserve with him. There were 2 old lions, they lost some battles. They got pushed away. They found their own little herd, very comfortable. And then they were attacked, right? So it was completely wrong, it was completely immoral. But that's what young entrepreneurial companies are doing to large companies, right? And in some respects, merchant trade is not doing differently to the large incumbent companies. So I always remind people that you need to look and watch out for young entrepreneurial companies. And we've seen disruption. This is Kodak, and we all know the story of Kodak. Their management was so entrenched, focused on keeping the film business going, that they didn't see the arrival of digitalization. Digital cameras were invented by Kodak, but they resisted it until the point that it was too late for them to change. Digitalization came, and now the digital cameras have been eaten up by mobile phones, right? Because the best camera that you have is a mobile phone, because that's the camera you always have with you. So that business, the film business, has disappeared, because of technology and digitization. And closer to home, we've seen Airbnb, Uber, and Grab. I used to work in the hotel business, and I saw Airbnb about 3 years ago when we opened our hotel in Melbourne. In the first year, we had record bookings. We opened in October. And then the second year, you saw, Airbnb slowly eat up market share. We all know about Uber and Grab, and they're giving away money to their customers. I think Uber is giving 2 free rides till the 21st of October. So this is a new model of customer acquisition, which did not exist in the past, right? So when we were in the hotel business, when we open, yes, we do discount. We give you an opening offer, etc. But today, when you acquire customers, there is a completely new way of acquiring customers, and that's really by giving away money. And this is something that Elon Musk did at PayPal when he spent about $6 million to grow PayPal, and he gave out $20 credits and then reduced it to $10 and then reduced it to $5 until he's built the mass. Alex Kong, I don't know whether you know, who used to run Afufa here and now runs and owns the largest e-wallet company in Hong Kong, basically did the same thing, So you put in $90 and you get $100 credit. So these are new models of building businesses which come with digitization and come with technology. Western Union, you guys all know this, right? 1871 founded. And then the next two companies, 1940 and 1987. I think RIA was 1987. But then look what happened. Look what happened after, in the 2000s, right? Loads and loads and loads and loads of companies have come up. Merchant trade has come up as well. Everybody recognized that the banks were too slow. You need 24/7. You need better rates. So a lot of opportunity for tech companies to come up. At the same time, some banks have responded, right? So CIMB, DBS Bank, I remember 4 or 5 years ago, if you want to do a money transfer from DBS Bank, you go in, you ask them for the rate, and then you say, can I have a better rate? Today, they don't want to see you. The rate's on the web. They just change the rate whenever they want to change it. It moves in tandem, and the spread between the CIMB rate or the DBS rate and XE is hardly anything, right? So they've changed their business. CIMB has been innovative in allowing you to buy currency to try and take some business away from you guys so you can book currency. So there is lots and lots of innovation, and there's lots and lots of disruption. And one of the things that people talk about, and I quote Elon Musk, when people ask him when is the future coming, what he says is very simple. He says that you have to look at how long you think this pace of change is going to take, right? So when he says electric cars, he said 20 years ago, or rather, a bigger pun. And 20 years ago, people said it'll take 50 years. 10 years ago, people said it would take 30 years. 5 years ago, people said it would take 5 years. So the gaps are getting smaller and smaller and smaller, right? And so it's not so important to know when change is going to happen or when disruption is going to happen, but it's very, very critical for you to know that it is going to happen. And the sooner you're prepared, the better. Because you won't be able to predict when it's going to happen. And just as you can't predict currency markets, I see a lot of business plans and over the last 20, 30 years. And all I know that in the forecast that I'm presented, I know that 99.99% of the forecasts are wrong. We just don't know which direction they're wrong. And that's the same thing about trying to predict the future, right? You know it's going to happen, and you'd better be prepared. Otherwise, you end up like Kodak or Nokia. In the banking business, it now looks very structured, and I'd be interested to hear from Victor about what Alliance is doing. Everybody's got their little piece, and banks, over the years have grown their business offering. The banks have grown their customer offering, and they've not been terribly good, or I would say competent at everything that they do. It's just that they became the place where people went, and then they added more and more services. So they're not optimized for the services that they've added. And now what's happened is that you have a whole bunch of new companies coming in all over the spectrum, right at the front, in the middle, at the back, customer acquisition, analytics, different transactions, forex, money exchange, insurance. So, just as Tony took the airline business, I used to work with tune hotels, and as Tony took the airline business and basically broke it up into its components, that's what's going to happen with the banks, right? So the banks services are going to be broken up into little pieces, and lots of people are going to start to play. Now, the old incumbent companies, especially in the technology space, say you need a platform, and therefore, they will start to work with people. And we really don't know who the winner or the loser is going to be. So, I let my panel member from Alliance talk a little bit about how they're preparing for the change. Thank you.